Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:12 p.m. Central. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans. It's raining outside, and I got Jay here with us.
Yeah, we got some rain too. You must have brought it in from the south down there in Florida.
It's been a while since it's rained here. That was worrying me. I was like, God, you got to water the animals, bro. They need some water.
Yeah, finally, the creek right around the corner here that was right up.
Finally, it's raining. So we got Steve Rother here tonight. Rother, doing it right?
Yeah.
And great to have you here.
Thanks.
And the book is Spiritual Psychology, the 12 Primary Life Lessons. And let me tell you, we could use a spiritual boost right now in this world. Like everything is just feels yucky. I'm going through a lot of financial junk right now from a job cuts and just weirdness with financial stuff. I had some streaming channels on Rumble that they deleted for no reason and they don't even tell you. So I had some funds get messed up with that. And everything just went into turbo mode. And when it comes to financial stuff, and I just want to let everybody know, you can go to churchofmabusradio.com. That's Church of Mabus radio.com. And it'll drop you right in our Facebook group and come join. And I have a GoFundMe going in there. And that's basically to keep the internet going. So the show keeps going. 18 years of doing these kind of interviews. And of course, that started with me having some UFO encounters and seeing some different types of beings after my dad passed away and going through cancer when I was 17. And here we still are. Wow, that's a long time, 18 years.
And I've been here for
I've interviewed people like Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. I was surprised he's been on the show twice. I didn't think he would come on. but a nuclear physicist, Stanton Friedman, who's passed away. A lot of greats have passed away. Jim Mars, Alien Agenda. Who'd you say?
Nick Redmond was our Halloween guest for 6 years running straight for 6 Octobers in a row.
A lot of greats. Wow. And well, great to have you here, Steve. What was your catalyst to get you started on your spiritual journey with all this?
Well, it was night and day for me. I was in construction. I had a construction company, small one, but I did a lot of remodels in San Diego. You know, about 6 or 7 guys that worked for me. So in that world is quite different than what I ended up in the spiritual world. In that world, every word begins with F. Over here, it's a different language altogether. So I literally had to learn how to be civil sometimes and be able to communicate without shocking people sometimes. So I was not into spirituality at all. My wife was. She was. We were looking for something to go do on New Year's Eve New Year's Eve. And she said, well, you know, my church is getting together. She was a part of one of these metaphysical churches. I think it was a Unity Church. And she says, my church is getting together and they're doing a new, set your intent for the new year. I said, okay, I'll go with you. I've always wanted to support you in this. I don't speak the same language they do. I'm just going to hang out with you all night and just kind of smile and nod. And she said, okay, that's fine. So we went. As soon as we walked in the door, they split us up. They put us in different groups and stuff. So I ended up having a fine time. It was great, but it wasn't any big deal. That morning, after we all hugged and kissed and said Happy New Year's, we met on the beach. About half of us met on the beach and had a bonfire. And we were doing a ceremony where we would tear up the paper with all the old stuff that we wanted to get rid of from the previous year and read the new things that we wanted for the new year coming in. And the leader gets up there and he gets all ready to go. And I'm kind of over here hiding. And he says, I'm being told that Steve needs to go first. So he hands me the stick. I'm over in the smoke. There's always a place in a bonfire where the smoke is. I'm hiding in the smoke.
No matter where you stand, it goes right to you. I'm that dude. No matter where I stand, it goes right to me.
Exactly.
Right in my face.
So anyway, I come over and I do it. And I said, okay, I can do this real quick. I just tear it up, throw it in there. No problem. I hold this paper up and my life changed. I don't know how else to say it. That's when the group came into me for the first time. They didn't channel through me. I didn't know what happened. I just thought I had an experience. I almost passed out, and I became aware that my shirt was wet because of all the tears that were flowing down. The people around the fire, they're all holding their hands up, sending me energy, but I didn't know what that was. I thought there was some sort of metaphysical handshake or something that people did. I didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So anyway, it worked out fine. But at that point, I was a general contractor. That business started closing very quickly. You bid jobs, and you get jobs, you go to the next job and so forth. And I kept bidding jobs, and the economy was good. Things were going good. Kept lowering my price, just wouldn't get the job no matter what. So finally, I started actually just writing on the internet. And that's when the group started coming through. So about a month after I had this experience, I wrote the first thing on the internet, which turned out to be the first channel from the group. And I've been doing that now for 30 years. Well, it'll be 30 years in December. It'll be the first. So I've actually been making my living as a channel for 30 years. You could not have told me that this would have happened.
Yeah.
I grew up in a totally different world. I mean, I wanted to get out of high school. I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to get out, go do my own thing, and get on with it. That was kind of the frustration of it. And I had a young family, everything else, and all of a sudden, this massive change is going on. We had no idea. Both of us, my wife and I, were, a little petrified as to what was going on. But at the same time, I actually sat down and wrote the first book. That book was translated into 18 languages.
Wow, that's impressive.
I wanted to get out of high school. You could not have told me I'd write a book, much less 8 of them, and translate into all those languages and stuff. But I did. And it's just one door opening after another, not always making sense, but synchronistically. Something would happen, door would open. I made this big investment, took it on my family budget to make a $5,000 investment to get these books printed. Scared to death what would happen if I ended up with all these books in my garage after 3 years, which a lot of people do. Well, that was back in the days before.
Believe me, I had way more books than what I have now. I'm with you. I used to have more.
I did too. So anyway, we did that, but everything came together. I ended up, when I ordered the books, I ended up waiting 30 days to get the books. And in those 30 days, I sold half the books.
Wow.
One thing just led after another to open the doors. And then one day I'm asked to do this. And the next time, we spoke 5 times at the United Nations on 2 different continents. You could not have ever explained to me how a channel, actually channeling an entity, would be asked to speak at the United Nations, but it happened 5 times.
Didn't Edgar Casey speak with them?
Yes, he did. They're actually very open people. They're just
you're among very elite company there, and that's good.
They were unbelievably welcoming. They just want the information. They don't expect it. You're not there to try and convince people. You're not there to try and sell people anything. You're just there to
just the facts, ma'am. Yeah,
just give them what you can give them. And answer. I found myself answering questions from the Atomic Energy Agency, which was based in Vienna. All kinds of strange things that were taking place. So anyway, my life really shifted during that time frame, and my wife's too. And she, in the beginning, she grew up with this contractor, with this guy, she knew really well. And all of a sudden I'm channeling entities from the spiritual realm. She didn't know what to think of that. So even though she was very metaphysical, it was very challenging on our relationship. But that all changed. She not only ended up being my greatest champion, but she worked alongside me, and she was on stage with me for 15 years. We traveled all over the world because of those books being translated. People wanted us to come. So it was an amazing life that I've been able to lead. She passed about 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear.
Oh, that's all right. We all got to go,
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what started the whole process. And from then, I have just been teaching classes and bringing stuff out and doing private sessions and in-person seminars. I've started again since COVID. All of us kind of shut down during COVID and moved online, but I've started doing some of those again too. So it's a wild time. But
yeah, it's funny. Each one of us has a fairly like distinct point where the phenomenon began, where we went down this rabbit hole, if you will. Jeff's health and father, and your story you just told us. And for me, the catalyst was Hurricane Agnes.
Really, you were in that?
Yeah. Hurricane Agnes hadn't come through Maryland and took out the power grid for about, well, in some places, a couple of months. I think we were out for about 6 to 8 weeks, month and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the East Coast was out for months. I mean, like New York and Pennsylvania had zero power for like 4 or 5 months. But I mean, it really devastated the East Coast. And without any power, there was no Saturday morning cartoons. We go outside and play. Outside was all like debris. It was all the trees had like shedded everywhere. So until like a week or two that the people could come and clean up all the debris everywhere, there really wasn't much to do outside. So we filed back indoors. And what is there to do? There's no radio. There's no television. There's books. My parents say they were book people, and they had a whole bunch of books. And most of them got destroyed because we had a 3-foot deep pool in our basement, which was cool because we could go down and swim in raw sewage for an hour or two, and then come back upstairs, take a shower, and then we had books. And in my father's books, the first box I opened up, one of the first books I remember is Mein Kampf, the autobiography of Hitler, which I never read it. I should have. And that book's, I wish I had it. It's gone. He had this huge, I was like bigger than the Bible, The History of the Third Reich was the second book that came out of that box. And then right underneath that, Chariots of the Gods, Eric von Daniken.
Really?
First edition, hardcover with the dust jacket on it.
Oh my God.
I was 6 when I found it, so I didn't read it, but I looked through it and I was like, I remember that one picture of in Guatemala, there's a rock with a gear carved into the rock. And I was 6 years old, and I was kind of keen on like photography equipment and pocket watches and stuff like that. And I still am. I mean, I actually collect pocket watches. Some are new and some aren't, but anyway.
Yeah, and we think Hitler's.
Like,
we think Hitler's a dick. I just want to exfoliate that.
Well, the picture in the book, what got me going? Why do these people need a gear? Why do these ancient people have bows and arrows and spears? No television. Why would they need a gear? And that got me going. That one book, that one image, and that hurricane. If those two things hadn't come together, I would never be in this for 40 some years.
You were triggered. Yeah. That was your catalyst, like you said.
Well, part of it, but you also mentioned in your story about religious things, and I didn't necessarily believe the Bible. And I was 5, 6 years. I had to read the Bible. My parents made us go to school as Catholic school. We went to a Catholic church every Sunday. And you ever see the movie The Omen when they bring the boy to church for the first time?
Yeah, I did.
That's me. There's me trying to get me in the car every Sunday. Like, no, I don't want to go. It's I thought it was boring. And anyway, but the Bible itself, I mean, maybe it was my dyslexia. I hadn't been diagnosed with it, but reading the Bible, the book made absolutely no sense to me. Now 50 years later, I'm 59 years old this next month. It makes more sense that I know the origin of the story, and I know that they edited the book. Really, the Council of Nicaea, they took stuff out. Oh, correct. And then there was another one they put stuff in. Oh my God,
correct.
And then wait, what's this guy King James? He even further altered the book by putting stuff in so he could get a divorce.
Correct. Yes. Not only
I noticed this at the age of 6, and it just so from that time on, I was like, I had to find out what the hell was going on with it. And so I think that really was the catalyst. Was the Bible made no sense to me at all.
Absolutely. And not only did they not include all the books that they found, but they went and killed many of the people that had written the other books so that those things would disappear off the planet of the earth. That's correct. They went after them. That's correct.
One thing it was directed propaganda.
And Steve, I know you have the chapter changing the role of the catalyst. What else can you tell us about that, the catalyst?
Well, the catalyst is basically the person that the group says is your life activator. So we have our primary life lessons, 12 primary, they're simple things: truth, trust, adaptation, uh, learning to get along, things of that nature. Very, very simple, basic things. But basically, when we come in as a spirit, when we're born, we're basically have a catalyst, somebody who activates the life lesson. If you're working with trust, you may have a father who abandons you or who abuses you or something so that you learn to trust yourself. So they're the catalysts, they're the first ones. Usually people don't learn right away, especially when they're children. They end up repeating it several times in life. But basically, when you change the role of the catalyst, you change the story. So if you can identify the catalyst in your life, and if they're still alive, if you can have a conversation with them and change a little bit of your relationship with them, you can change a lot of stuff for your own energy going forward and clear a lot of paths for you. So that's one of the things that's talked about with the changing the role of the catalyst. Yeah.
And from what you see on your spiritual journey, what stage do you think the world's in right now? Because it seems very chaotic. And what is the group saying about right now? Right now just seems terrifying, from our own government to just other governments to everything. Just seems crazy as hell right now.
We have, as far as our governments and so forth, we've been taken over. It's pretty clear to see what's taking place. It's like I was talking before before we started. I actually have faith in humanity. I think we will wake up and see what's taking place. And I do think that after a while, we won't believe everything we see on all these screens that we look at, all the social media feeds that we see, all the different stuff. We'll be able to discern and see that we have a wide variety, which is what you guys are doing. You're showing different aspects of different things that normally would not be covered. This is new. And as a result, people are getting adjusted to all this information coming in at one time. So it's chaotic. It is being used. We do have bad actors. We know that. We've seen them before on the planet. They're using the technology in ways we saw it with Cambridge Analytica. We've seen it, over and over and over again, the use of technology to do certain things that people aren't aware of, none of which seem to be illegal. So again, I think our technology is exploding, and that's part of it.
And who do you think is taking over? I know I worry about Putin and stuff and the connections he has with them. But I mean, watching him at the I don't want to get into politics too much, but watching him at the United Nations, it seemed like Airplane the movie, but worse, like the evil version or something. It was just, it's insane.
It is insane. It is insane to watch these egos. Unfortunately, it is the largest ego that seems to end up on top many times in our governments. It just seems to be that way. Putin has done incredible things, unbelievable things that he gets away with. So has Trump, basically. Now, I have friends in Russia. I used to do a lot of seminars in Russia, and I have a lot of people over there, all of which basically, I wouldn't say they support Putin, but they just kind of go, "Oh, that's politics." We don't even know about that. They don't know much about the war and the things that's going on in different parts of the world. So
the good thing is, after Glasnost, we have the fact that we now know that the Russian people aren't the Russian government, and the Russian people know that the American people aren't the American government. What you heard about us isn't what we heard about you, and we don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what we're doing, but we want both of our governments to do the same thing, and neither one of them knows either of them.
That's it.
So it's a one huge, show.
That's it. Well,
starts with S, ends with hit. Show.
First time I went to Russia, I was in Moscow. I looked out. We were in a pretty good group of maybe 700 people or so. And I said, "You guys are the guys that I was hiding under my desk from when I was in grade school." And they all came up to me later and said, "Yeah, we were hiding."
I remember those. I remember.
Yeah.
It's like, it was like the 70s, but we had nuclear bomb raids, and then the third or fourth time we were like 5 or 6 years old, or 5th or 6th grade, or whatever. We're under the table talking to each other. I'm like, what are we going to do if that bomb goes off anyway? What is the death's going to stop?
Nothing.
You're done. If it happens on top of you, the desk isn't going to do a damn thing at all. All they're doing is making you aware of the fact you're dead.
Right.
What they should do is just conduct class as normal. Okay, kids, here's the boom, bright flash, no pain whatsoever, and there's a big giant pile of ash.
Big smile.
That's
That's about
easier that way. It would
exactly
be easier that way than making us all panic.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. It was some crazy times, but we didn't understand. You know, we were fairly ignorant, and I do believe that the government was acting more out of not really trying to protect us, but trying to give us the illusion that we were protected.
But also, I think we now know that the Russian governments of that era, and during the Cold War, in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all up to Glasnost, they were working together. The American government and the Russian government were working together to create these tensions in their peoples to give them more power, and it worked. Yes, look where we are right now, still under their thumb.
I always heard or saw something
where World War III,
where America supposedly helped get Boris Yeltsin or somebody in there and caused a lot of mischief or something, some kind of story like that. It seems like they're getting us back for that or something.
That could very well be. Boris was a bit of a drunk, yes.
Yeah. No, quite a few of their leaders were.
Yeah, sure. That's probably true.
When it comes to politics, I was for Bernie, and that's pretty much the only person that's really made me feel passionate about politics ever. And a lot of it's the insurance stuff. I know what that's like to have insurance trouble when you have cancer. So that was that I would saw off a toe to have him right now instead of this.
Oh, me too. I think Bernie was pretty far ahead of the curve. So I don't know if we would have actually got him into office. However, he planted some very important seeds.
Yeah, he did. But
he pulled a little bit everything more toward the center. It was really nice.
The problem wasn't Bernie, and the problem wasn't Bernie's ideas. Full socialism we know wouldn't work. And I think Bernie knew that too deep down, but he kind of seemed like he wanted to make it try to work. We know it wouldn't, but there are good parts of that would have worked, and he brought that out. What his problem was, they didn't like him. His party did not like him at all. And if they don't like you, they're not going to shuttle you to the front of the group as president. And that's really what killed his political career.
Oh, a big part of it is he's independent and refused to join their party, but was kind of part of the party. It was like you had to be registered down here as a Democrat in Florida just to vote for him. And that was painful to do.
Yeah, and that's another unfortunate thing is I moved to Pennsylvania 3 years ago from Maryland. And I've never lived in a Commonwealth state. My brother lives in Virginia, which is another Commonwealth state. But I went to get my license flopped over, and the guy's like, "Would you like to register to vote?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, if I can do that here, sure, let's do it. I'll be a libertarian." And he's like, "Well, you can't vote in the presidential elections if you go libertarian." And I'm like, I can in Maryland. Why can't I do that here? And he's like, "You have to be Republican or Democrat." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, you have to be one of the two. You can't be one of the other independent parties and vote for president in this state. That's unconstitutional. I'm sorry. I don't like that at all."
Well,
so I had to pick one of the two, and I picked one of them. So
we've never really had a democracy. We've never really had a every vote counts democracy. We have the electoral college, all this other convoluted stuff. The entire state goes in one direction rather than just count the votes. Why don't we got the technology? Why don't we just count the votes? Why don't we vote on our phones? What's the problem?
I've said it for years. The Electoral College was put in place for a few reasons. The first time was because during revolutionary times, most people didn't know how to write. So just to make sure that just in case the people that went to vote, they couldn't read whatever they wrote, they wanted to make sure somebody won. Electoral College, boom. The other reason
didn't know that. That's fascinating. That's like really why they came up with the idea, because nobody back then in those first few years of the country, nobody could really read or write. We were stupid. We were farmers. And then they did it again through other places for the same two reasons, because people were they were fighting over the two different sides, and some people just didn't want to vote, and some people were trying to force people to vote one way or the other. So this way, if the popular vote was corrupted, the Electoral College would still at least some way be able to put someone in office to keep the government going. But we don't need it now. We have the technology, like you said. If you did it right, and they
every state does not use the same type of voting system.
That's correct.
These are all different.
Yep.
Some of them are paper and electronic. Some are electronic only. Some are paper only. Some of them are, it's like a big open room and there's no dividers between people voting, which I think is illegal, because in the very first voting booths, when they didn't have those, people were getting stabbed while they were voting for President Washington. Oh, who'd you vote for? No. That's really what happened. That's why they privatized the booths, because people were getting stabbed to death in the early voting polls of this country. We were killing ourselves to pick a leader. Again, how stupid were we?
And
yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time. Like I said, I think one of the things that the group has said about it, and the group does not get into politics. It's Steve that gets into politics. But one of the things the group said about this, that they said, you have the feminine energy rising on your planet. And they illustrated it very simply. They said, let's just call it real simple. Let's just call the feminine energy harmony, and let's call the masculine energy force. You need both. There's no way you can get along without one or the other. So you need both to be able to do that. So with the masculine being in charge, certainly in the early days when survival was king and so forth, the masculine really took charge and is still much in charge. The feminine is starting to rise. We've seen this over and over. We saw it in the 60s. We saw it more recently with Me Too movement. We've seen a lot of things where the feminine energy is really starting to speak out and rise. But you're also seeing the masculine energy, like the Trumps, going, nope, you're not going anywhere. We're going to hold you right down.
You get back in the kitchen right now.
Yeah, we're gonna cut that off at the knees. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if you can tell us more about the group, who are they, and what have you learned about their origin story, so to speak? Origin story.
It's been kind of challenging, because the first thing I wanted to do is find out who they were. People had told me, you have to be careful when you channel. You can get the bad guys. They can harm you. They, all this stuff. I don't believe any of that today, but nonetheless, I did back then. So I wanted to know who they were. I said, who are you guys? And they said, we'd rather not say. And I go, okay, you're the bad guys. I'll cut you off. No problem. And they said something to me I'll never forget. They said, with all the love in the world, they said, we honor your choices. And they were quiet. No more. It was about 3 days later, I kind of came back and I finally figured out, and I go, okay, well, if you're not going to tell me who you are, tell me why you won't tell me who you are. And they said, now you've asked a good question. We want this content to come through and be spread for the love content of the message, and not because of a label placed on it. So all of a sudden I'm different than everybody else. My friends and other people are channeling God, from Neil Donald Walsh and Lee Carroll is channeling Cryon, and Jeff Hoppe, and all these people are channeling all these beings, and I can't even say who they are. Finally, I called them the group, because I was aware they were multiple. Now, they didn't tell me where they were from. Finally, about 6 years in, they said, okay, we will tell you simply that we are from what you call the angelic realm. Whether they're angels, whether they're archangels, whatever, I don't know.
There's a tiered hierarchy to that realm.
There is
parts of the Bible, yes.
There is an extreme, but you see, I don't necessarily believe in the Bible. I believe in the message of Christianity, but I have trouble with the story.
Yeah. I think if we could have the original, and we talked about this a little bit before the show too, if we could have the original, unaltered, unadded to, unedited, unredacted, full story without all the strangeness in it, write it as the facts are. I think first of all, we find out that it's a different story altogether entirely, and two, we'd be like, wow, what a fantastic story on top of that. And it's probably it would be helpful to have that book if it was designed to set this planet on a certain path. Well, it certainly failed by a miserable shot. I mean, it's way off the mark.
Well, we did. We found the Book of the Dead, which was from that era, and different writings didn't mention anything. It was even from that area it was from Qumran, right there in Israel. So, I mean, I was there. I saw it. Absolutely amazing. But why didn't it mention Christ? Well, if that was it, that was supposed to be one of the places where Christ actually studied.
So
So
it
I
had,
don't know.
it also came after or before. Yeah.
Yeah, and right, it's true. That could be. And then on top of that, we don't have Enoch's book. We have parts of it. We know
Yeah.
that was there. We know that Mary left writings behind that were long destroyed that we couldn't get. We can channel this stuff.
The reassembled parts that they configured from the various finds, Dead Sea Scrolls, and other cache finds. There's been another one similar to that afterwards, but it looks like Mary Magdalene was the first disciple.
I think so.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first one of the first books that was put in the Bible after the first century BC, and that really changes the story.
Well, and like you said, it's been the actual New Testament has been rewritten and re-edited several times intentionally, for various different reasons. But
sometimes nefarious. The king wanted to get divorced from his
exactly
nagging wife.
That's the King James version. That's right. Anyway, yeah. So it's been rewritten over and over again with different meanings and so forth to come through. But one of the things that some of the scholars that I have listened to have talked about is that most of the books in the Bible may have actually been written by the same person, and even in the origins. So they believe that maybe someone was documenting and telling the story from a different perspective, maybe even from the Roman perspective, to document some of the wars and things that were going on, and ended up taking that information and altering it, changing it. We'll see. It's religion has done a lot of good. It's also done a lot of bad, but the reality is yeah, well, it gave us some good principles to go by and so forth. But that's what I call channeling. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
you got in the Old Testament, you got the old man going up the top of the mountain and getting the 12 commandments and coming down. That's a channel. That's what that is.
Can you tell us a bit more about your process for channeling? Is it like telepathic, or do you write it? I mean, do you like have conversations in your mind? I need to think more. Sometimes it seems like just an empty bulb that doesn't think. I try to do positive affirmations, but is that kind of like you just let it flow through your mind?
The difficult for me with the positive affirmations before I started channeling is that I have something we used to call the Popeye voice. You remember Popeye and Bluto, the comic cartoon? He would always mutter under his breath. So I would be sitting there saying my wonderful affirmation to the mirror, and the Popeye voice would kick in and say, "This is bullshit. This is bullshit." So we can't do this. So anyway, it would kind of take over in some ways. But for me, they're with me all the time. They're always right here. They don't interfere with my life. They don't tell me which way to turn. They don't give me directions. But sometimes I'll be driving down the highway and they'll tap me on the shoulder and they'll say, "Pay attention." That's not a danger sign or anything, but sometimes there'll be a sign on the side of the road or something happening over here. And all I do is take it in. And I go, okay, I paid attention. Go down the road, finish doing what I'm doing. 3 days later, I go into a channel and they pull that same image up in my brain and they tell this incredible story about it, which has this beautiful meaning that they wanted to bring in. So they're with me all the time. They plant seeds with me all the time. But the actual process of channeling, when I actually go into channel and bring that, I'd be happy to do that for you here. But
that would be awesome.
It's very practical. I hope you're not too disappointed, because
I'm enjoying this a lot. And I wonder if they're light beings too. I don't know if they're the same people I've been seeing, but for some reason I picture them as luminous beings, like in shamanism. And I've seen those beings with my physical eyes, sober. And also, Artie Six Killer Clark, she does some great books on Native American star people encounter. She does different tribes in South America. So there's a story where these beings of light supposedly in the desert left a handprint, and the native have lore about them returning, and it might have been 2025. I have to relook, but it was about them coming back and giving like teaching. So I'm getting goosebumps. So the beings of light, I may not be channeling them and doing it like you are, but it may be the same dudes. I don't know.
Yeah, but you channel differently than I do. You're clairvoyant. I'm not. Clairvoyant means that you have a vision. You almost can see it, or you can pull it up in your brain as a vision. I'm not clairvoyant. I'm claircognizant. All of a sudden, I know something, and I don't know where it came from.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've literally had that. No, literally, I've gone to bed not knowing something, and then the next day I know it. I've
Yeah.
had that.
Where did it come from? Yeah, I don't know. But
I've called it genetic memory in some cases, but I don't know how. The thing that the knowledge I channeled, I don't know what you want to call it. The knowledge that popped in,
I call that a channel.
it was a Clockwork Orange.
Oh, wow.
It was look, I'm dyslexic. I cannot read. It's one of the hardest. Without glasses, it's even harder. But before glasses, and before I was even diagnosed, this eye read this, would start the sentence at the beginning of the paragraph, and this eye read the line directly below it. So I was reading two different lines at the same time with both eyes, and then trying to make sense of it. And in ninth grade high school, the teacher made us read The Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, the American version, 20 chapters, not all 21. It's a good book, but I could not.
That's the same. That's the same book that Stanley Kubrick made into the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's almost word for word what he did in what he did. Book. There's a few things he changed, but not much. It's almost literally word for word. He did a good job, but he did the American version of the book, which is only 20 chapters. The book actually has 21. So. Anyway, I couldn't read the book, and it just didn't make any sense to me. All the weird, Euro speak language he wrote into it, because he took like words from Russia and Polish words, and he melded them with English words, and like just created this language that was, Vanna, can I please buy a vowel? Could not understand it. So my mother, God bless her, she rented the movie. It's an R-rated movie. I was 13 years old. We watched the movie.
That's got a rape scene in it. You bet.
Several rape scenes in it. Yeah. Several almost not soft pornographic, but almost realistic. But
very realistic. It's close. Yeah.
So that's how I got the knowledge. I just had to sleep on that book. I could not understand a word of it. But to this day, it is one of the few books that I've read corner to corner, cover to cover, more than once.
Okay, but your brain takes in those words and brings them in and processes them in a way in parts of your brain. If you don't understand it, you generally just kind of move it aside, but you are picking up vibrations. Mm-hmm. So you could have not even been trying to read the words and probably just flipped through the book and got the same images.
I pulled the exact plot right out of it, but I just did not understand one word the kid said throughout the entire book.
Right.
It wasn't until I got the movie, I was like, well,
what book was it?
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
What
for example,
was it again?
Rutger's his fist, and I didn't know that until he goes, I'll beat you with my bruised and creepy Rutgers. I'm like, oh, you're bruised and bloody fist.
Jay, what book was it again?
It's called A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess.
Oh, okay.
It's also a pretty good movie by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, you can channel them on the show. I mean, if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable. I'd love it.
Sure. I'll give you a brief channel. I'll just tell you a little bit about the channeling process so that you can know what I am. Now, I came out of the construction industry. I am extremely practical, if you haven't figured that out yet. So if it's to me, I just call it practical magic. So I tend to look past some of the mysticism and just actually get into the energy of it. But there's, like I said, there's 5 basic ways that we channel. And I believe everybody channels. I think we just call it different things. I think the artist who sees an image and tries to recreate it is channeling. I think the musician who hears a song and recreates it is channeling. I think we all get it from the same thing. I've been able to tune in to this group of entities. They say I've been with them for many lifetimes. So we have a harmony already built in. That's why they call it the group. And I'm one of the group. So with that, I'm going to just kind of close my eyes and go into this channel. I do channel with my eyes open, and I'm a conscious channel. I'm aware of what I'm saying. Don't always know what's going to come out until it actually starts to come out of my mouth, but that's kind of what it feels like. And one other aspect I will tell about anybody who is trying to channel or wants to start playing with it, it is going to feel like you're making it up. Just let it feel that way. Don't try to think about it. Just flow with it, because it has to come through that creative part of your brain anyway. So there's a whole aspect of this that we've learned to just trust and flow, and amazing things can happen. We tap into parts of ourselves that we didn't know were there. Absolutely amazing. With that, let me take a breather here. Greetings from home, dear ones. I am what the keeper calls the keeper of time. I am one of the entities in what he calls the group. My expertise is all about the illusion of time, for that is the aspect you live in. You see, we're at home, what we call home. You've listed it as heaven, you've listed it as Brahma. You have all sorts of words for it, but the reality is you're a spirit pretending to be a human. And you came from a place that we simply call home. At home, you're all part of each other. You know each other intimately. Every part of you is part of something else. Now, interestingly enough, the same is true when you go to Earth, but you don't see it. You put the blinders on as you go through the veil. You can't remember your previous lives. You can't remember why you came. You can't remember the contracts that you set into motion, but you did. You sat around what we call the big table sometimes. We give you these stories so that you'll understand them. There's really no table there, but we'll give you that illustration. You call in all your friends that are going to be on Earth when you're there, and you make contracts. And you ask this lady across from you, you're going to be there the same time I am. Will you be my first love in high school and change my life? And she says, yes, I would love to do that. So you make a contract to do exactly that. And then you make other contracts around it, and you come to your friend over here and you say, will you be my best friend in high school? And will you steal my girlfriend so that I can learn forgiveness? And you set yourself up for all these interesting contracts, and then you come in and forget all of them and walk around going, why am I here? What am I doing? Where is my path? What am I supposed to be doing? And we laugh hysterically on this side of the veil. Because many times we're sitting there telling you, turn right, turn right, turn right. And we watch as you turn left. It's not wrong. It's just the way things work. You're on your own. You're setting your own path. Dare to stand in that energy. Dare to not give your power to other people, belief systems, any energies which you are leaning toward. If you are on one side of an issue, it means you have been divided. So look at the larger aspect. You all came from home. You all came from the same place where you were all connected. If you can even remember a small part of that, you will start healing the planet very quickly. You have some wonderful things ahead of you, dear ones. We will talk about technology coming up, but there's so much that is taking place. It's going to change your lives in many ways. Yes, of course, there will be those who use it improperly. And yes, of course, you will also gain tremendously as you start integrating yourselves. The technology that is exploding on your planet is simply a reflection of you. Keep in mind, when you look at the moon, the light is really coming from the sun. So the interesting aspect is, how can you use it? Much is coming with this. You have some wonderful times ahead on planet Earth. We're watching from afar and cheering you on. You're always here, and we love you dearly. It is with the greatest of honor we ask you to treat each other with respect. Nurture one another at every opportunity and play well together as you create this new game. Aspavo, dear ones.
So things.
Sorry.
Thank you. It's okay. That was good. Give me goosebumps.
That was very, very cool.
That's the group.
Can I ask you something? Because
Sure.
what you were saying there sounded very, very Star Trek-y, and I hate to say that I mean, it's a serious way. There's a story and a rumor I've been trying to lock in since I was 13 or 14, 12 years old, like in the 70s. I heard a story
About Gene?
about Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry was was in his offices at the Desilu Studios in the back lot of Paramount, somewhere in the summer of 1967. Season 1 of Star Trek was either just finishing its first 30 so episodes, and he was starting to write for season 2 because they had 3 seasons they had to produce for NBC, and the show was coming to the end for the first season. He had to get the next season going, and he could not get anything going. He was at writer's block. He couldn't get anything going. Allegedly, he had a visit from a few men in black types, non-human beings, but looked human, with men in black suit type deals. And they told him, Gene, we like your show. It's pretty close, but here's the deal. And they told him about their Galactic Federation. They said they were with the Council of Nine, or representatives of the Council of the Nine, and that Gene's show was close, and that there was, this is what we have, 80 some, I think, if I remember correctly, they said to him, 80 some species that control around 120 different solar systems in this region of the galaxy. Well, the first season of Star Trek, who controlled the Enterprise? It was a group called, a vaguely NASA veiled group called the United Earth Space Probe Agency. And their symbol is almost identical to NASA's symbol, almost identical. In the second season, who controls the Enterprise? It's the United Federation of Planets.
Federations, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds very much like that. And I was getting kind of goosebumps when you were channeling.
Well,
your voice changed, and you had sort of a different accent than what you have now.
That's correct. And there's different entities in the group. Different entities have different accents, different rhythms they speak with, and so forth.
Yeah.
But the Star Trek thing is fascinating. Now, I heard the same story. I don't know if it's true. I asked the group about Gene Roddenberry in particular, and they said Gene was absolutely a channel. And furthermore, much of this information about some of the technology and about the way things were planted intentionally. So that fits right into what you're saying. That fits into the visit from the Men in Black or whatever they were. Planting very important things. The group basically says we're creator beings. We don't know it. We don't know that we create everything around us. But if we see something often enough, or we see something is really fascinating, we create it. We've created all the technology in Star Trek. They're still working on the transporter. They've got beams that move from they're
close. They're
close. Yeah. They're moving particles.
They're moving light particles from one box to another box. And
correct.
The distance now is, I think they're up to about 5 miles. I think they can span the entire city of London. We also were speaking earlier about before the show that they have alleged replicator type technologies and that kind of early Star Trek stuff that would just alter life on the planet in a good way, hopefully. But like you said, there's going to be some bad usage on it.
Of course,
I can imagine there's someone gets their first replicator and goes up to it that has a heroin problem. You heroin, 5 grams in a needle. You can imagine what abuses can go on with these things.
Correct.
But it's fascinating that we agree on that subject. I have to ask you because this subject has come up several times throughout the Star Trek universe. Again, I hate to use it as a serious subject, but it seems like it's part of the desensitization program with the other things going on with our government. World War III is allegedly part of the veil, and other channelers have said something of another World War type of occurrence, and then after that will be a time of revolutionary change. Have you heard? Have you spoken to them on that? Are you interested in that side of things? And if you are, cool, what can you tell us about that if you know?
I can't tell you much about what you're speaking of in general, but there are huge waves that take place on this planet, and we go through them. We go through waves of truth, waves of lies, waves of war, waves of peace. There are times when we just literally have had enough of something and the collective shifts energies. And that's what I'm hoping you're talking about. I'm hoping literally that we can get to this point where we can shift the energy literally and start thinking differently, looking differently, being responsible in different ways, and reorganizing things. We've changed so much, but the part that doesn't change are the systems.
Yeah.
Our economics didn't change. We've evolved so much.
Religious systems, government systems.
The government systems.
All of that.
They're literally, the systems are the most difficult to move, and they move with the most pain sometimes. That's what I think is happening. And I'm a bit of an optimist. So maybe I'm being over optimistic. My girlfriend says I'm way too optimistic, but that's
I prefer to be optimistic. I've been given my name is not Doomsday J. Ross. It's actually J. McNicholas. But Doomsday and the Ross come from my buddy Sean, who's on the network. We do other shows together, and
you were talking about it.
We talk current politics and news on the next show after this. And usually when we talk about the World War III scenario, I'm usually the one who does all the doomsday stuff. How it's going to happen, what consequences would be. And I also do painting for like Bob Ross. I have a painting tomorrow, a class tomorrow. One up there, you can't really see it too well, but I paint like Bob Ross, so that's where the Ross.
Do you really?
From.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you paint? You paint online?
I haven't done it online. No, my teacher is like a half an hour away in Chambersburg. We stand in her garage. She puts up a bunch of easels, throws out some paint, and we slap it on the canvas for a couple hours, and then we walk home with it.
Hey, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, as far as the World War III stuff, I actually believe we are extremely close to that right now.
Yeah,
we're extremely close to it. We've been dancing on the edge of it for some time. Putin has been throwing all of his little remarks and so forth to be.
Well, he's invaded airspace over European NATO for three different occurrences. So the next one's not going to be pretty. Right.
So we're extremely close, and we. If we have to go through it, we have to go through it. It's a real challenge to be able to do that, but that is kind of the way things swing. This pendulum does not change directions fast or easily. So if whatever the case is that we've got to go through, we'll go through it, but it'll be totally different than any war we've ever had before.
The message I've been hearing is very similar to what you said, but the message is, the next few years there's going to be some serious, strife.
Yeah.
Very bad times coming up. But after that, smooth sailing. That's the guarantee and promise from all the messages that I've been.
I do believe that. I do believe that. I do. Like I said, I have faith in humanity. I think humanity will start creating a new level. We call it the fifth. We call it the fifth dimension. It's basically another vibrational level.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to also go on to something that you were talking about earlier when you were talking about waves. Waves seem very important throughout the universe. Gravity moves in waves. Light moves in waves. Radiation moves in waves. Sound moves in waves. Water moves in waves. DNA is shaped like a wave. There's a connection. That's synchronicity. That's not coincidental. No, as you were talking earlier about Popeye, it's not a coinky-dink.
Yeah, there you go.
Not a coinky-dink, And by the way, Robin Williams was also a channel. I don't know if you know this, but Robin Williams did 100% channel Popeye. I don't know if you saw the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of musicals. It is my favorite musical, along with the Frank Sinatra one, Dancing in the. Or is it Frank Sinatra? The Singing in the Rain. Those are my only two favorite musicals. Okay, Robin Williams definitely channeled Popeye without question.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Yeah, I do believe I do believe actors channel people all the time. They call it something else. Like I said, they call it the script, or they actually call it channeling now. So
I've been lucky enough to have a few actors that I've talked to. One of the ones I interviewed the longest, he didn't even know he was being interviewed. I interviewed him. Silas Weir from Grimm. He played the werewolf guy, the friend of the cop, the friend of the Grimm. He was at a Star Trek convention here in Baltimore, and happened to be sitting at the bar with. I have an Indiana Jones hat, by the way. I should go down and get it.
Yeah,
and I was wearing it, and it actually was on the bar on the bar stool next to me, and he said, "Can I sit here?" And I said, "Sure, go ahead." And I looked up, and I was like, "Oh, hey, it's you." We sat there and drank beers for 2 or 3 hours at this bar, and I just talked to this guy for forever. And I asked him, and I've asked every actor if I ever get a chance, especially if I like the character they're playing, how much of you is in that character? And almost all of them say 100% of it is me. It's just the backstory is different. You know, I'm not really from, you know, like New Horror wasn't really from Africa. She didn't actually speak Swahili. You know, the character did, not the actor. You know,
true. Well,
that kind of stuff. So
it depends on the writing too. So there's times when, you know, the person that played Helen Keller, I don't know if you remember that, but that's channeled. You have to really get into who this person was in that time. So we've seen a lot of people that have done that in those ways too. So
yeah, you have to be able to put yourself in that person's place to be them. I absolutely agree with you. That makes a good actor, you know. And a funny thing I also would tell you, I studied the history and the entertainment industry for a while. That's why I wear glasses, because I sat too close to the TV as a kid. No, really, because back then the screens were, you know, 30 inches wide, and it was furniture, and you could sit right in front of it. And this, you had, you know, it was like being in the movie theater. For the most part, you can meet a guy you like as an actor. Say he plays a mean character on TV. You would think when you meet him, he's kind of an ass and would be mean. You can see a character on TV that you like that's the funny guy, or the light and go happy guy that's always nice and friendly on the show. And that you think when you meet him in real life, he's going to be light and friendly and happy to go and see you. I found it's the exact opposite. The guy who plays the meanie and the heavy, and you know, the guy that breaks your nose and legs is the real nice guy in real life. And the guy who's the funny guy, like Jim Carrey, the comedian, are absolute in life. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do.
That's the weirdest thing of Hollywood that I have absolutely noticed, is that some of those people portray the worst characters on screen, and people hate them for it, and then meet them in real life and go, "Oh, I didn't realize you were such a nice man." Yeah, because that's not really him on TV, lady.
Yeah, well, and some people get typecast into certain things, so I certainly understand that. But yeah, it's been difficult. It would be very difficult to be an actor in some ways, because you don't have to be constantly taking on new roles and different stuff and that. Yeah, interesting stuff. I felt that way a little bit myself in being on stage, as much as I've been in different things. I had to learn a few things. I had to learn how to channel without crying. That was, I mean, I come from the construction industry. We don't cry. So, I mean, this whole thing was weird to all of a sudden be on stage and have, you know, all these tears coming down. It took me almost 2-3 years of channeling before I finally was able to not cry on a regular basis. But
it has to be an unusual experience for sure. I have never actually had the experience. I've seen it on video plenty of times. It's never the first time I've seen it happen live. So thank you again for that. I was going to say earlier in the show, with your background as a general contractor, that the show would go smoothly. My background is, for the last 15 years, is in the hardware industry. So I've worked in one of the big box hardware stores at the store level. I'm now at the distribution side of it, but I know the construction industry. You know the construction industry.
I was
the
one
guy
of those
who owns
guys.
The station, also a general contractor, knows the construction industry. So you're in good hands with Allstate, man.
I used to be one of those guys that got in an hour early before everybody else, because I had the contractors' accounts and stuff. Yeah, so I know. I absolutely know. It was a good life. I enjoyed that life. I didn't not like that life. We were building a family. We had 2 small kids. We were doing really well. I mean, you know, we weren't making we don't make a ton of money now, but the reality is we were doing okay. We were building a life, and all of a sudden everything changed. I mean, everything changed. Unbelievable, the things that took place in my life to make that shift and that adjustment. But that's about as close as I would come to learning to act. I had to learn to do a few things. I had to learn. Somebody told me a trick one time that I just never forgot, and it really helped. In front of large groups, if you're in front of large groups and you have something that you're saying and you're not reading it off a teleprompter or something of that nature, so you have a message that you have to come out. Like anybody, there's going to be times when you lose your way. You forget what you're saying, or you forget where you were going or something. So what you do is when you first get into the group, you find somebody that you can locate that's just got those bright eyes that just catches your attention. And if you ever lose your way, you look at that person and you're back on track. And it works.
I never heard that.
Things of that nature. The group told me different things, and different people have shared different things that I've learned about working with groups. Now, we used to be on stage with large groups. Most of the time, our groups are online now, so we don't actually get to see them in person the same way. But, there's so many wonderful things you can do when you're working with people like that. One of the first things I would try to do was get them to laugh.
Yeah. So the few things I heard about for speaking to a large group, and I told you before the show, we draw in about 4 million listeners. What I didn't tell you is it's about like 165 different countries from where those 4 million listeners come from. So you're all over the planet, sir.
Awesome.
But the cool thing is that what I heard is if you talk, especially if you're going to talk to a crowd, for one thing, don't whisper. Don't use your indoor voice. Project, stand up straight, fill your lungs up and don't yell, but as loud as you can talk at what you would think is a conversation level, because the guy standing in front of you it might appear to him you're yelling, even though you're not. But the guy all the way in the back, he's like, is that guy whispering? I can barely hear him. And you're talking really loud. That's how you have to do it. But not to look at one person. I like that trick you had, but this guy told me, make eye contact with several people and don't just, even if you are looking at a teleprompter, try to look away a little bit, and look at the people in the crowd to connect with everyone in the crowd. Because if you just connect with one person or you just connect with the cameraman, you look like, you look like a robot. It doesn't work well. And then I find it also equal to come out as one of the first things to do is make the audience laugh.
Well, yeah. And from the group's perspective, that's the language of angels. That's one place where we have a commonality that crosses all boundaries, all religions, all belief systems, all races, all countries, everything else is that laugh. And if we can share that possum, we can create a commonality and we can build from that point on. So I had to learn a lot about that. It turns out I'm pretty good at it, but I didn't know that. Not being in construction, I had no clue that I could speak publicly, that I even had a big, strong voice that I could
Okay, so here's a good example. When you worked in general contracting, were you the foreman?
I owned the company.
Okay, so you were getting the jobs and you were telling the guys what to do.
Yeah.
You go and build that wall. You set that frame up. Right? It's the same thing. You're talking to a group of people. You're not talking to them, gathered in an auditorium. You're conducting an audience.
That's correct.
Have to listen to what you're saying. Yes.
That's correct.
So
that's
you had
correct.
your training. You had your on-the-job training for the job you have now on the job you had previously.
You're probably right. You're probably right. But it was fascinating to me. And of course, all the ego stuff, that was something I had to wrestle with right off the bat, as somebody who, has gone through life, never considering myself attractive, not depressive, not, negative stuff, but I've never really considered myself good looking or anything else. And all of a sudden to have all this attention on me and all these people looking at me and even women coming up to me, trying to pick me up in front of my wife, all this stuff happened on a regular basis. And I had to balance my ego. I literally had to say, I have to remember that I'm still Steve, and this is the group's information. Yeah, it's the group's information coming out that they're so excited about.
Yeah.
And I have a responsibility to that. And I was very faithful to my wife anyway for 50 years. So that's how you get a long relationship, is to be able to do that and grow it over the 50 years. But fascinating things. And today I'm able to teach classes on all sorts of things. We teach classes on relationships. We taught a class on spirituality and sex, and the spiritual expression of fifth dimensional sex, and we've taught classes on channeling. We've taught classes on putting your boundaries up, about being a better person, about communicating in different ways. none of which I knew. Literally, all of this information has come through me in massive ways. And
I've been doing this. I've been doing research on the UFO and cryptozoology phenomenon for, I'll say, 45 years. Just a round number. Just a round number. But not, I mean, it's not like I wasn't trying to make money off it. I wasn't trying to write a book. Couldn't care less where I got the information from, just as long as it was true. And it was just for my personal knowledge. I had to find out what the hell was going on, because I talked earlier, I didn't understand the Bible. I didn't believe it. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. It seemed to me that there was more than one entity referred to as God in that thing. And one of them wanted to kill us. The other one wanted to save us. And then the third one couldn't care one way or the other how it happened. So I was like, couldn't understand that. Couldn't understand what all was going on with the UFO phenomenon, Bigfoot, and all this other stuff. So I started looking into it just casually over my lifetime. And on one of the other shows on the network, Joe Montalvo started naming certain UFO and paranormal events. And just as an aside, I threw out who the main player was, what year. And at the end of it, I was like, wow, I could teach a class. I could teach a college. I could literally put together a syllabus and call it Intro to Paranormal or the History of the Paranormal. I could literally put together a college level 101, 201 level class and get paid $50,000, $60,000 a year for it.
That's correct. Yeah, there's so much that's opening up now about what's taking place. And this stuff is becoming popular, which is really nice. We also have another wave of energy coming in from what the group has been telling us. We're going to have a lot of awakening people, which is probably going to make your numbers grow even more. Literally people that are awakening up, trying to figure out, I need exposure to this. Tell me exposure to that. What do you guys think of this, and so forth. That is what is so cool about what's happening with the internet right now. We're able to share a lot of this stuff openly in different ways, where it's not, yes, there's control.
It's still on the fringe, but it's out there. That's the good
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we have a lot of wonderful communications and things that are kind of opening up in different ways, but it's all about learning how we're alike instead of how we're different. And
if only the more people like us could spread that word and people would understand, the color of our skin really doesn't matter. You peel away the skin underneath, it's all the same structure.
Just cocoon.
I don't care if you have black skin, white skin, yellow skin. You take the skin off.
We're all pink inside. You're back.
Yeah, they're all pink and red and ugly looking. It's nasty looking.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I need to plug the network real quick and then mention a book very fast that I forgot to do at the beginning of the show. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM, New Orleans, and if you get a chance, check out Beasts Beyond Belief: Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes by Michael Winkle, and you can find that on Amazon from Uncle Bear Publishing. That's Beasts Beyond Belief, Sneaky Werewolves, Flying Cats, and Accidental Apes. And let's see, and definitely check out Steve Rother's book, Spiritual Psychology, the 12 Primary Life Lessons. And you can go to Amazon and check it out. It's great information. I love the channeling as well. Right now, I'm having crazy job turbulence, which is like the most horrible stress ever. When you're worried about your animals being fed. We have a lot of rescue animals, so I've been worried about their dog food. And then I finally get paid, and he's like, here's half. I'll give you the other half like in a week or whatever. It's like just doing weird.
Same thing's happened to my girlfriend. She's got 6 weeks of pay coming to her that her company can't figure out why she hasn't been paid for it. And she's like, it's been 6 weeks. When am I getting it? And she's like, I'm not going to go work for you for any more until you pay me. How can I continue to work? You haven't paid me for 6 weeks.
Stuff going on. That's very stressful.
Yeah, there is.
It's murderous. And what I was going to ask is, I know you have clearing tubes, but what are some things right now? As I was jokingly going to say, is clearing tubes part of the sex class, but also what are some things that can help us with this stress? Like my dad died from a heart attack. I've had cancer before. Yep. I mean, I feel like just paralyzed. Like I'm trying to breathe and take blood pressure tea and stuff. I don't do blood pressure medicine because I'm just scared to do that crap. But there's like these teas I got from Amazon
if you can get it,
works. there's like a blood pressure tea from Amazon, and some other guy told me the stuff that's out there now that you can actually drink this tea, and it feels like my blood pressure will get too low from just having a little bitty glass of this tea. But what are some things that maybe the groups taught you or you've learned that help us with this crap we're feeling that can kill us?
Well, we carry stress, and that's what kills us. That's what happens. We do it all the time. And stress isn't always bad. Physical exercise is stress. So there's certain stresses that are actually good. But what happens is when we don't know how to deal with stress, or we don't know how
Just
to
as you
ground
can't
it.
overcome, as I was about to say. Yeah.
Exactly. We ignore it and we store it in the body, according to the group. And we store it in different weak places, whatever area that I've got as a weakness, it'll store, and all of a sudden I'll have a back problem. I'll do something of that nature. So we've got all that going on. On top of that, we've just recently gone through some massive solar changes on planet Earth. And that is still having effect with a lot of people's physical bodies.
Too.
Yeah.
On earthly changes too. If you did, I don't know if you heard about the core, they say has changed. It went from clockwise to counterclockwise.
Right.
Oh, counterclockwise to clockwise now.
The group has been talking about that for several years. They've been telling.
Okay, so what is the consequences
what's telling
of that?
us slows down? Well, basically, that changes the energy. If you can just imagine that it's not magnetism, but if you can just imagine that it was creating magnetism by moving, and all of a sudden it's moving in the other direction, things are really changing. The energy that's coming from the core of the Earth is quite different. And this is part of our evolution. This is part of what
is the planet going to start going the other direction?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't.
I hope not.
No, this is simply a drastic change of energy, and it's all tied in with the eclipse, the different things that are taking place right now. People are feeling this in your body. My guess is this is a lot of what you're feeling, Jeffrey. I do believe this is a lot of. It's almost like you're empathically tied in with the Earth, and you can't disconnect.
Well, I think it's also where our solar system is heading into a region where we're going to be aligned to the eye or the event horizon of the shapely center of the universe, or shapely center of the galaxy, which they now believe to be a level 5, whatever, category 5 black hole. And alleged to that, there is a potential gamma ray or some sort of high energy radiation beam. We won't be able to see it with our eyes that comes out of those and will affect the planet as we pass in front of it. And I think you and I maybe agree on this. That's probably the energy that's making everybody wonky.
We have a lot of this going on, and we have more coming. There's going to be other things that are changing as well. The core of the Earth has been a huge piece of this. It's been slowing down for almost 2 years. So it's really difficult to measure. They're not quite sure that it was, stopping, and the group said it would never stop. It almost just keeps turning in one direction. All of a sudden ends up moving in another direction because it's
electromagnetism. So it is working like an electrical. I mean, I don't know if you've ever driven a fork truck, an electrically controlled fork truck.
Yeah,
I've driven them gas powered. The gas powered ones operate a little bit differently than the battery and the ones we use in the warehouse. But it's an electronic motor. And you can go, I don't know, like 20 miles an hour forward. And then if you pull it all the way straight backward, the fork truck will go. I mean, literally without stopping. I mean, just like that. So I think that's exactly how the planet feels. It's like,
I think that's
reverse button.
I think that's exactly what's taking place. Now, one of the things that is taking place, and according to the group, we keep a close eye on a couple of different things with the Earth. One of them is the flow of the I forgot what it's called, the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream has been blocked and has not been working properly. They say we've actually been getting some help from some of the ETs that have been helpful in helping to unblock that. So that may even help slow down the global warming in the few years that come ahead. It won't solve the problem. We're not there yet. But different things of that nature that are taking place. And there's many of these that we're seeing different energies coming from either the cosmos or from the Earth herself that are starting to change. And we're evolving like crazy. We're getting hit with it first. I'll tell you who got hit the worst was women. Women are having low back problems. They're having all kinds of other things, carrying the weight, almost as if suddenly they feel like they're carrying the weight. And
or perhaps they're more perceptive to the energies in the universe we're traveling through, whatever it is.
That's probably it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally 100% agree with everything you said. I think just the weird thing is, we don't know. We have so many weird geological things on our planet. There on the ocean floor. When I was in, I did very well with the earth sciences in high school. And it was an artist rendering, but they've done very good studies on the ocean floor with what radar and other things we've got there. It's formed this way, facing north, then it goes south. Then there are bands of north-south oriented, magnetically oriented bands in the floor, north, south, and over a uniform amount of time. I think it's 32,200 years or something to that effect.
Correct.
And so at some point, north becomes south, south becomes north, and they're not sure if it's like that or it's like.
Well, and right now,
so we don't know if it's gonna be snapped and the planet goes like that. Everybody's gonna get hurt. It's gonna be like stopping a skateboard when the guy has not strapped to it.
But it's not a physical change; it's a magnetic change. So it will change everything. All the electronics we talk about, every cell phone, everything else is going to be upside down for a while until
the drains in North America will go the other direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything. But the problem is,
and it's happened 6 times before. That's the interesting thing. Or 5 times before.
But what they don't know is there's 2 sides of the coin. Like I said, they don't know if it's just going to be like, and the planet changes like that, or if it's just a magnetic swift like that, nothing happens. Just the planet stays in the orientation it is. They don't know. Like we're floating on magma. This is what we live on. They don't know if the planet will just go all at once. And if that happens, it'll be like pulling a skateboard out from someone who's skateboarding that's not strapped to it. A lot of people will get hurt. So it's kind of scary what this event could be.
Well, and it is coming.
Where my doomsday comes in, but because we don't know, we have to speculate.
I don't call it a doomsday because I do see, we're going to have our good times and our bad times, but the reality is we're going to come out in the long run. That's what I look at. So yeah, we're going to have some real challenging times as we move through this stuff, and there's going to be some negativity. Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately,
hopefully we'll stay out of war. We'll see.
What I like to tell people is look at it like this. We know something bad's coming down the road. All signs are pointing to it. Almost every paranormal group says something negative is on the horizon. And I don't disagree with that. The thing is, there was one before. There was the Chicxulub event. Killed all the dinosaurs.
Only 65 million years ago. That's correct.
Yes, and only 1% of the creatures on the planet at that time survived.
Correct.
We're part of that. So we're a pretty elite group to have survived one already.
With the cockroaches. That's correct.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we've just got to, go back to our cockroach heritage, scurry under the baseboards a little bit, wait for the bright flashes to go off, and then come back out.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know the summer here in Florida it's like torture, and I'm so glad that I'm near Georgia and Alabama, and I get 30s and 20s when it gets cold finally, which will be late October.
You get 3 seasons. Don't give me that. I get 4 seasons up here.
I'll take it. That's all I know.
We get 2.
Yeah.
The insects
hotter.
Crazy. The insects. We've had bad flea problems. It's like horrible.
We had a wonderful summer. I have no idea what happened. Last summer we got rain. We never get rain. This summer we didn't. We had 1 or 2 days over 105. And 105 is actually comfortable here. We've had a great summer. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I was in Phoenix earlier in the year, and my best friend, 30 years, he moved out to live with his now fiance. And it was pleasant out there. Every time I've gone out there, it's been like 113 degrees in the shade.
Yeah.
And my mother's like, my mother and dad used to live out there, my sister, and they're like, oh, come on out and visit. You'll love it. It's a dry heat. I'm like, Mother, my oven's a dry heat. I don't live in it. Okay. I cook food. But anyway, the few times I've been out there was always really, really hot. And the first few days I had nosebleeds because the air was so dry that my nose dried out. But this summer was very nice out there. It was kind of coolish, not too hot.
It was unbelievable. We got really lucky. We had year after year after year, and of course we're right very close to Death Valley, which is where the records are set. I think the record is actually 133, which was set out there over Dubai, over everything else. So the hottest place on the planet is very close to us here. So I was really surprised. Anyway, it's changing. We're going to see a lot of shifting going on. We're seeing a lot of shifting, like I said, with the systems, with the economies. That's one of the next ones that are a little scary. We've been teetering on the edge of this collapse that has been predicted by many people, including the group, of many of our economic systems, probably starting in the United States.
I was going to bring up another subject, but then you mentioned the group, so I got a question on that subject for you with the group. With all the change we're talking about, at some point, the ice on Antarctica will be no more. At some point, possibly in our lifetime. What do they say about that? Have you asked about that? Because that fascinates me.
We are going to see sea level rise. It's slower than people anticipated. We've already lost several islands in the Pacific and in different places. We've lost several small islands that have had to literally move. It's going to continue. We'll see it in different levels, because what happens is when one of those ice shelves break off, it doesn't actually give the same amount of energy. In other words, it has to actually melt in order to really come into the ocean and raise the sea levels. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to have probably 6-7 years down the road, we're going to have difficulties with places like San Diego. We're going to have challenges with, you can look at a map, you can look at Google Earth and pretty much see where you're going to have challenges. Yeah. Look at the Bay of Bengal. Oh my God. It's just a steady slope all the way in. It's going to be flooded in some of those areas incredibly. And it is today. It's changing even today. We see this happening and we think, oh my God, it's going to happen overnight. It's not happening overnight. It's happening right now. And we're starting to see it. And we're going to have a lot of changes going on with the water on our planet. We have several different cycles that the group has kept an eye on. One of them is the dust cycle. If you've ever heard of that, the dust.
Yeah, we had the Dust Bowl of 1949, something like that.
Well, you've got the Dust Bowl, which is basically from there. But the
entire central part of the country just dried up
There's a major drought. That's exactly right. But we also have the Sahara. There's a huge place in the middle of. I wish I could remember the exact name of it. But anyway, it's a dried lake, and the lake goes back millions of years.
Oh, you mean the Eye of the Sahara?
Yeah. Wind blows in, carries that stuff up into the even the ionosphere. It travels many different places. It actually feeds a lot of the plankton in the ocean, which eats it, and of course creates oxygen, which we need. But it also feeds it feeds a lot of the Amazon. That's where most of it ends up. Those patterns of wind are changing. A few years ago, we had it all dump on the United States. It wasn't supposed to there. And all of a sudden, we're getting this really super fine dust in different places. So we're seeing some of these cycles change. That's going to change our food patterns. That's going to change the water cycles, all of it. And it's actually happening right now. It's slowly happening. So
yeah, the unfortunate thing is, and I have figured out through lots of help with this network in the last 10 years and other research that I've done, that at some point it seems the planet created its own electrical field, and still does. We just are no longer able to harness it because the devices certain races put on this planet were knocked out of alignment. And with the planet being knocked out of the 23% or whatever it is pointed away from its original axis, they will never work. But the rumor is, if we could get the planet back upright again, the Giza plant, if we put the right chemicals in it, will transfer power around the planet, allegedly, to the other pyramids. That's one of the beliefs in the ancient astronaut theory group. I don't really believe it.
That's interesting. I don't know.
To be honest,
it's the first I've heard of it.
Is that they were? I mean, we know that at some point, in order to become spacefaring, you have to have rocket fuel. You don't just automatically come up with, intergalactic space warp drives. That just doesn't happen overnight. You have to get up there somehow, whether you use steam or fire or chemical, you have to get up there. And so I think the Giza Pyramid was a chemical plant that made solid and liquid rocket fuels for various gasoline-powered devices.
We know one thing. As much research as they've done, as many times as they've said these stones were carved over here and they were transported over here, we couldn't do that today. But, the technology that not only built the pyramids, but all over the planet, Peru, they've got these monster stones that are so closely fit together. Yeah, the ink blocks, exactly. They were melted together, and that's actually the story that came from their Aboriginal tribes, is that this woman would come and she knew the secrets of raising the stones and heating them up so they all melted together.
Yeah,
we had help.
I have this argument with Joe on the show a lot about the pyramids. I've actually studied the Fourth Dynasty, which allegedly built the Giza Plateau, the Giza complex. That was a Bronze Age race. They were copper coming out of bronze, or bronze coming out of copper. I forget which one is more stronger than the other. I think copper is less strong than bronze, because you take copper and you add it with 10, you get bronze. So they were copper age coming into a Bronze Age. That's a transition, which means that their hardest material that they could manipulate and mold was copper and bronze.
Correct.
You can shape very accurately limestone blocks with copper. I will give the Egyptians that, but other technologies they didn't have, because they have granite inside those things. There's no way they could do. You can't cut granite with copper. Copper to granite is like chalk to a chalkboard. The copper will make a mark on the granite, but it will be, itself scraping itself onto the rock and leaving a mark on the rock. That's what it is. It'd be chalkboard. The Egyptians did not have the crane. They did not have the fulcrum, and they did not have the wheel.
That's
at that
correct.
Time frame.
That's
so they
correct.
could not have easily manipulated those blocks with it. They couldn't move them with manpower. There's no way you could move 60 tons with 5,000 slaves. You can't get 5,000 people around one of those blocks. All right, this isn't stage diving where a heavy metal guy with long hair jumps into the crowd in the audience and they lift him up and move him back around onto the stage. Yeah. That's not how rocks move together. It never
exactly.
They also did not have the compass at this time frame, and each one of those four buildings, the center faces,
they're perfectly aligned.
They face in. It's 8-sided. They're almost perfectly aligned. They're only off by the amount that the planet is knocked off of course, by 0.27 degrees or whatever the hell it is. That's how close it is. You can't do that without a lodestone. They didn't have it. They simply didn't have the technology to even come close to transporting those blocks. But we do know the river came in front of the pyramid. So
yeah, the river used to be right there.
Yeah, we've got satellite images. So all right, they cut the blocks 70 miles away and they put them on a barge and it got there. All right, great. How'd they lift them? Again,
how'd they get them on the barge?
Had to get them on the barge. They didn't have the technology to do any of the other stuff. They didn't have no cranes. They had no saws. They didn't have it. It just physically didn't. And Zahiwa says, oh, yes, they did. They did it all with copper. Physics say that you can't do that, Hawass. It's impossible. I'm sorry, dude.
There's just too much of it. There's too much. If you've been to Chichen Itza, if you've seen the alignments that were done, even some of the simple things that were done in different areas, it's incredible technology.
Well, and there's this guy, I forget his name, but there's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube, 10 or 12 of them, long ones, 2 and 3 hour videos, 10 hours, 2 or 3 hours each, 10 of them. And he talks about gematria and the pyramids of Giza and Asia and South America and how all the lines and mathematics line up with gematria. It's incredible how it's all tied together. Whoever built the pyramids on the planet, be it, several different races, were of the same technology.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And we've seen different technologies pop up in different places too, in different parts of the earth. What the group says about it, and I have to tell you, when I started channeling, I had this huge resistance about talking about ETs. I don't know what it was about. I have no clue why I had that resistance, but I did. And
the human thing, probably.
All you have to do is look in the sky and see the amount of galaxies out there. And there's no way we can't have neighbors. Just odd
mathematically
percentage.
impossible.
We know we're going to have it. But finally got over that, and the group started talking about ETs. They said some interesting things. They said there's more than 144 races on our planet right now of ETs, and that we had 6 parental races, only 4 of which exist today. They basically have 2 of them have gone by the wayside, and that they've been here coming back to check, not to check on us, but to try and they're working more with the planet than they are with us. We don't listen. So we'd love to see them. And every time they try to make an exposure, our government's covered up. Our governments don't want that exposure ahead. They don't want us to have the power. So basically, even many of the presidents have gone in. Obama actually went in with every intent of exposing everything, and he didn't see a thing.
I've got a comment on that.
Yeah.
Allegedly, the White House recently announced a few weeks ago that they have access to Back to the Future technology. They can go back and forth through time, allegedly.
Good.
Also, allegedly, other let's just call them alphabet soup named organizations, be they government or secret, what have you, also have access to this technology. And allegedly, one of those 3-letter soup names, when a new president is inaugurated several days after, they take him into a room and they show him a video. On that video is videotape from, let's just say, friends from afar that shows planet Earth, unmistakably the planet Earth, with dinosaurs, and then us, and then JFK being assassinated. But it's not the Zapruder film. And it's from the front, and it shows you exactly who kills him. And it was on purpose.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt about that.
This has been allegedly going on since LBJ forward. LBJ is probably the man who orchestrated the bulk of that conspiracy there. But allegedly from after LBJ forward, every president has been shown this video. We're going to be history on this earth kind of video. I think that's kind of spooky. And
yeah, that is spooky.
Really, that's really, really scary.
I hadn't heard that. And the group doesn't talk a lot to me about the ETs and so forth, because they know I've got this still little bit of resistance to it. Mm-hmm. But what they have told me about that is that it started way back. It started actually with Truman. And then, of course, we've seen president after president after president, it got away from the presidents now, because now it's in covert land.
It's in the industrial complex.
Exactly. What
Eisenhower warned us about.
Exactly. The industrial complex.
Full control.
Exactly. The people that are actually in charge of it, they don't know where the money goes. We have a budget that we don't have a clue where half of that money goes.
No idea where trillions of dollars of our money are going.
On a regular basis. Absolutely. And the people that are actually in charge of it.
What was it, a couple years ago? Just not long ago, the Democrats, they lost how many? $123 billion. They have no idea where $123 billion of tax money went. No idea. How? I want to curse so bad. How do you not know where you're our government? How do you not know where our money that we gave you went?
Covert operations. Very simple. Very simple. Very simple. Now, will it be known? Yeah, it will be known, but unfortunately, it's going to be piece by piece. If it was all exposed right away, everything would collapse anyway.
If the actual truth of what Eisenhower and Truman did, if what I've heard the rumors of what they did in contract with alien organizations or exopolitics, almost every gun-toting American would topple the government. I guarantee you, if the truth were out today in full, no redaction, I'll bet you every Democrat with a gun and every Republican with a gun would surround Washington, D.C. and say, cease and halt and desist, or we're going to kill you. I guarantee you. It's that scary. It really is.
I do believe we've got a lot of things that have been going on, hidden and buried deeper and deeper and deeper. And yet they're still coming out. We still have people that are coming forward. We had congressional hearings recently. What was that about?
Avail, I mean, once again, to no avail. It's a showpiece.
Well, no, it's to no avail. But yet, to bring it into the government and actually have the government ask questions of other parts of the government, that never happened before. So
there have been several Senate hearings on possibility of a UFO question and possibility of getting it disclosed through the government. That the thing is that these fledgling senators who do these events, if you want to call them that, they don't realize how deep the deep state really is, and how seriously compartmentalized all of the information is. And like I said, I've been doing this 45 years. My main question is to find out why the Bible doesn't make sense and why aliens are tied in with it. There's a connection, and a very serious connection all the way from, and if you want to believe the pseudoscientist Sitchin that they've been here for 450,000 years, or do you want to believe the CIA that says they've been here for millions? Somewhere or another, there's truth in these stories, and that's what all of us is after. That's what almost all of us are after. It's just the fact that some of the truth is so scary that it will probably incite many people to become violent. That's one of my. Yeah, it very, very well might. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm thinking it'll come out a little more slowly, but
yeah, it has to. Otherwise, it's going to be bang.
But we've had the incidences where, you know, the Phoenix Lights. We've had the incidences where they've shown. We've had the girl who was pulled out of her New York apartment building and slowly raised up where hundreds of people saw her. You know, saw her going up into the spaceship. You know, one of them was a government official. So you know, you've got all these things that keep happening that basically.
Well, the way we say it here, on this network is that disclosure has happened to those who need to know, but only by the aliens. They have disclosed to those people they desire to know that they're here. Everyone else is blind to it, and that's the way disclosure. If it's going to happen for the whole planet, it's going to be at the aliens' decision, not the U.S. government. And if the U.S. government decides to try to do it, I'll bet the aliens will stop them. Unless they're ready.
I have no doubt from what the group showed me that the aliens have stopped us from exploding nuclear weapons before. They've specifically disarmed many of the missiles, and particularly they've even misfired one of the Russian missiles not too long ago, where they were building these new missiles that travel at the supersonic speeds and so forth that are supposed to be able to get past all of our defense systems.
We have footage of a test at White Sands Missile Laboratory in New Mexico.
Right.
It's still top secret, but lots of whistleblowers have spoken about it. But and the guy who was the controller of the guy who was the launch controller for this missile experiment. Or maybe he was the cameraman. I don't remember which, but he describes it just like everyone else. This missile goes up, and in the film, you see the missile, and in comes the UFO, shoots a beam, moves over here, shoots a beam, moves over here, shoots another beam, then shoots out, and the rocket goes bam and explodes right after that. So we've got stories of them in the Cold War on the Russian side turning their systems on as into launch mode.
Correct.
And on the American side, because we had a 2-key system, turning our systems off, so you can't launch them. Scaring the pants out of 2 or 3 bases, 4 or 5 bases here in Montana, several bases there. So if anyone's afraid of them wanting to kill us, if they wanted us dead,
they've got the technology. They could have taken us over a long time ago.
If they wanted us dead, we wouldn't be here right now.
Absolutely.
They're after something. They're looking for something. When they find it, maybe then they'll kill us. I don't know. No.
And we've had Robert Salas on that was at that base where the UFOs came.
Talked to him.
And, it's a trip. But it's definitely crazy times. That's the big thing with me is I've seen a different variety of types of beings, from the light beings. I've seen small little hooded beings standing near a black box, and a cat jumped towards them and they vanished. I'm not sure what those were. Those kind of gave me the creeps, but they could have been. At the time, I had been reading some Celtic otherworld kind of stuff about the fairy realm and stuff, so maybe it was something related to that.
They were faith folk.
But the weirdest thing is when you watch these paranormal, like, the videos, places on YouTube like Slapped Ham and stuff, like me and Christina watch those for fun. And I think some of them are real. I certainly don't think they all are. But those little cloaked beings keep showing up in different places. So I'm like, are they the ones that's trying to control us behind the scenes like John Carpenter's They Live? Are they the ones that, I know Stephen Greer, which I know he's a lot of controversy. Right. He had the little mummy of them. I was like, is that what's under that cloak? Like I've seen those little things. It's weird if some kind of evil micro aliens are trying to control us, like Mars attacks or something. But I don't know what they were, if they're good or bad or whatever.
Let me give you one illustration that the group gave me that might resonate with you. I don't know. If you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum this big, visible light is only about this big. It's really tiny.
It's like less than 1% of the entire spectrum.
Exactly. And furthermore, that's all that we know about. What if there are other entire vibrational ranges right here in this same space that we know nothing about? That is multidimensionality. That is supported by quantum mechanics. Yes. They don't even call it the universe anymore. They call it the multiverse because of
basically, if the new rules, if they come into effect, the quantum physics things would basically erase current physics.
In many ways, it would erase Newtonian physics. That's correct. They have to exist side by side because quantum physics is basically inside the atom. So they're trying to connect the universal theory that what happens in the stars is the same thing that happens inside the atom, and they're getting very close. Quantum mechanics is allowed to do that.
I have always speculated from high school level. Again, I said I did well I excelled in the earth sciences. When we came to that part in science, talking about molecules and outer space, I can only imagine and envision. And they have recently taken some pictures of an electron. And if you search on the Google, you can see it's fantastic. But guess what they look like? Little tiny solar systems, just like I suspected, just like Earth, just like scientists suspected for time immemorial. It looks just like, but unlike. Okay, so when I'm smoking a cigarette, so I'm going to put it down. All right, no cigarette.
Yucky.
When you see the solar system, it's like here's the star, and the planet goes. So because there's such great distances, it takes so long, especially when we get stars from very far. It blinks very fast because it's so far away that it looks like it's blinking when the planet's going in front of it. But when you're right on top of the solar system, the planets they move very slowly in comparison. Atoms, it's like, I mean, they're like it's like holy cow! It's like zipping around each other.
It's a different reality, but it works on very basically the same principles that we can't always see. So if that's true, if we have other dimensions that are exactly right next to us, and if people had the technology to be able to shift dimensions, wouldn't that explain how space travel works?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think what it will explain is when you come back from the laundry and you put in 12 pair of socks and you take out 11.
What happened to the other one?
One of them socks has gone through that portal that you just described.
Very well might have.
100%. It's the same thing you just described. It's when you go into that room, and you're like, I came into this room for something. I know what it is. Then you leave that room and you come back. I remember I went to go look for something. I know that something is in that room. And you go back into that room, and that something you put there just 2 seconds ago is gone. And there's no one else in the house but you. And then you're like, damn it, I know I put it there. And you walk away and you come back like, no, I know I put it there. You turn. It's only been seconds. You turn around and it's back where you just put it. That is that realm you just described. That's what
the group calls time holes. So if we've got multiple dimensions, vibrating slightly different dimensions, slightly different things all around us, and people were able to shift dimensions, that's what the group says many of the ETs actually are. They call them EDs for extra dimensionals instead of extraterrestrials.
Well, I think also not only that, but it happens accidentally. Like, so there's a phenomenon. We'll go back to the feminine again for a little bit.
I gotta end.
It's a true female phenomenon on this planet. When women start to work together, their menstrual cycles begin to align. And
we see it all the time. We see it on our seminars. That's correct.
Yeah, happens all the time. It's a known fact.
Yes.
Same thing I think happens with the vibrational patterns. Is again, I'll put the cigarette down so I can demonstrate.
I gotta end the show.
We'll go real quick. We have vibration here, vibration here, and a vibration here. Eventually, they're going to line up.
Yes.
And then they're going to go back and not line up. And then they're going to line up. So eventually they're going to, connect and non-connect and connect. Now that's what I think the phenomenon may even be explaining ghosts.
That
could possibly explain ghosts.
We got a lot of conversations going on here that we could keep going with.
We can do this for 4 hours, dude.
Hey,
yeah, exactly.
I could go on. It's been really great.
Hey, I enjoyed
And
it.
I loved it. Thanks for the boost. And if you do prayer or meditation, zap me. Have the group zap me because I need more of this zapping for sure.
We'll do.
Yeah,
We will.
everybody
We'll
use it.
I
Put a
send you a
appreciate it.
charge. You
And I
bet.
definitely want to get you back on because I feel like we could talk about more and for sure. So we appreciate it so much. Do
You
you have a
bet.
website or anything?
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
give
Let
out?
me leave that with people. It's Steve Rother, ROTHER.org. We're a nonprofit. We have a very active website with a lot of online seminars. We do a lot of free things. Tomorrow, we're actually doing a open question and answer on YouTube. We do that once a month. We do a lot of different things online that we can connect with, including our own podcast. If you'd like to come join us, come play. I'd love
What's
to see
that
you.
YouTube page? What's the YouTube?
The
group?
YouTube is actually Espavo TV, ESPAVO. Or you can type in Steve Rother. It'll get you there too.
All right. Well, we appreciate it so much. What a great show. Thank
bet.
you.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fantastic, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Have a good
You bet.
weekend. Take care, everybody. You're listening to
All right.
United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. And next week, Area 51 Studios. These guys are putting out a comic. You can go to Kickstarter. Number 2's coming out soon. You can get number 1 when that comes out. It's a comic book, but it's funny, and it takes place with aliens at Area 51. Like they do their own little TV show. It's pretty good. But all right, everybody. Have a good weekend. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Don't forget the fake freeze face.